name is Isabella, and at 28 years old, my parents took me to court, suing me for what they called emotional damages, caused simply by my existence. They demanded $165,000 in compensation, money for family therapy, and reimbursement for the resources they claimed they wasted on me. I didn't cry. Not a tear. I was too stunned to. Instead, I decided to surprise them in a way they'd never forget. 2 months later, they regretted every move they made. If you've ever been betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect you, stick around and tell me where you're watching from. That day started like any other. Nothing dramatic, nothing strange. I was at home, sleeves rolled up, washing dishes. The water was hot, steam curling against my arms, the air smelling faintly of lemon soap and clean plates. The rhythmic clinking of porcelain against metal filled the kitchen. Calm, ordinary, safe, until the knock came. It wasn't frantic, not even loud, just firm. A kind of deliberate firmness that made me freeze mid-motion. I wiped my wet hands on the edge of my apron, sighing under my breath. Probably a delivery, I thought. Maybe a neighbor. I opened the door, and there stood a man in a crisp navy suit. He looked like he had been printed out of a corporate brochure. Neutral expression. Shiny shoes, a sleek leather folder tucked under one arm. No smile. No warmth, just business. Miss Isabella Khan? He asked. Yes, I replied, confused but polite. He clicked open the folder, pulled out a paper, and handed me a pen. Please sign here. A document addressed to you. And I did, just like that. No questions, no hesitation. Years of workplace habits had trained me to sign without thinking. I scribbled my name, and he slipped a thick envelope into my hand. My name was printed on the front in bold, black letters. Isabella Khan. He gave a small nod. Thank you. Have a good day. Then he turned and walked away like it was just another delivery. I stood there, blinking at the envelope, feeling a faint unease crawl up my spine. Probably something from work, I told myself. Maybe tax documents or a letter my boss forgot to mention. Nothing serious. I shut the door, untied my apron, tossed it onto the chair like I always did when chores were done. Then I sat down on the couch and turned the envelope over in my hands. It was heavy. I shook it lightly, as if it might rattle and give me a hint. Nothing. Finally, I tore it open. I expected some dull paperwork, but what fell into my hands made my heart stop. Court summons. Complaint. I blinked again and again, hoping I was misreading it. But no. My name was printed clear as day on every page. And right below, in bold capital letters, plaintiffs, Farad Khan and Shazia Khan. My parents. My vision tunneled. I felt my stomach drop as if the floor had vanished beneath me. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and hit Jessie's number, my best friend. My lifeline. My lawyer, she answered on the second ring, cheerful and unsuspecting. What's up? Don't tell me you finally went to that neon dumpling place. My parents sued me. Silence. Then she laughed, half thinking it was a joke. Your parents are suing you? For what? Existing too loudly. For emotional damages caused by my existence. Her laughter died immediately. Wait, what? I'm serious, Jessie. Her voice turned low, careful. Say that again. My parents sued me. She exhaled sharply. Okay, why? I flipped to the first page, my hands trembling so hard the paper crackled. The words blurred for a second before they settled into focus. Lifelong failure to meet family expectations. Existence has brought continued humiliation to the plaintiffs. I read it aloud, my voice small and breaking. Jessie let out a low whistle through her teeth. Wow, I know, I cut in softly. It's like they found a legal way to say what they've been saying my whole life. I laughed weakly, the sound cracked and bitter. That I existed wrong. She was quiet for a moment, then said gently, Read the rest. I scanned the list. Emotional distress. Damage to family reputation. $15,000 for therapy for the family. $30,000 in reimbursement for resources spent on the defendant. And then the final line, defendant is obligated to provide ongoing financial support as the only earning child. I stopped breathing for a second. They actually wrote that down, I whispered. Where are you right now? Jessie asked, voice calm but urgent. In my living room. No. Are you alone? Yes. Okay, don't panic. I'll finish up at work and come to you in an hour. We'll read every line together. We'll figure this out, okay? I nodded even though she couldn't see me. My hands were still gripping the papers like they were made of fire. Every memory I had fought to bury clawed its way back. Every shout, every insult, every slammed door. Every night I cried myself to sleep, wishing I belonged somewhere else. Now it was all official, printed, signed, and stamped by a court of law. You know what this is really about? Jessie said softly. What? Money, I shook my head. No, it's more than that. It's punishment. They just want to break me again. The spiral began. That old familiar one. Disbelief melting into panic. Panic turning into anger. My body remembered this cycle like muscle memory. I stood up, paced, opened a cabinet, closed it again. My mind buzzed with static. I need answers, I finally said. I can't let them do this to me again. Not this time. What are you thinking? Jessie asked, but I could tell she already knew. I'm going over there. Isabella, don't... I have to. I'll meet you there, she said quickly. No, you've got work. I'll handle it myself. Please don't go alone. It might make things worse. But I had already hung up. I shoved the papers back into the envelope, grabbed my keys and stormed out without even changing clothes. Just me, my anger, my heartbeat pounding in my ears, and the weight of my parents' lawsuit pressed against my chest. And I know what you're probably thinking right now. What could I have possibly done to make my own parents go this far? To drag me to court like a stranger? Maybe you think I must have been terrible, right? That I did something unforgivable, something so cruel that my parents were traumatized. Well, you're half right. I did make a mistake that wasn't even mine to make. I was born a girl, and to them, that was the first and greatest sin. My grandparents were the first to move here. Immigrants from Pakistan chasing the American dream. They built their lives from nothing. Worked tirelessly, settled in the U.S., but never left their old traditions behind. In our family, sons were blessings, daughters, burdens. So when my parents found out they were having me, they prayed for a boy. But they got me instead. From the very beginning, I wasn't a child. I was a disappointment with a heartbeat. Then my brother came along, and suddenly, all the affection they had ever withheld found a home in him. He was the golden one, the air, the joy. I was the background noise. He got toys, gifts, trips, money. I got chores, silence, and blame. If he broke something, I was punished. If he cried, I was scolded for upsetting him. If he was lazy, I was unhelpful. It was always my fault. By the time I was 10, I knew my place, the helper, the cleaner, the invisible one. Girls are for serving, my mother would say, as if it were sacred scripture. Freedom wasn't for me. He could go out, play, explore. I stayed inside, cooking, cleaning, invisible. When I disobeyed, there were consequences, sharp ones, sometimes bruises, sometimes words sharper than any slap. I learned early that pain was part of love in that house. By my early teens, they found a new use for me, earning. While other kids joined clubs, I worked shifts after school, cashier, shelf stocker, folding clothes, anything to bring in money. Every paycheck went straight into their hands, and I didn't complain, because guilt had been stitched into my bones. Even when I grew up, moved out, got a job as a retail manager, I kept sending money, out of habit, out of fear, out of duty. I was making $50,000, $70,000 a year, working long hours, finally feeling like maybe I could breathe on my own. But to them, my success wasn't mine. It was theirs to claim. And the moment I said no, no more money, no more control, no more emotional leash, they snapped. The guilt calls turned into rage. The insults turned into threats. And the love I'd begged for all my life turned into a lawsuit. And then came the lawsuit. Yeah, imagine that. You spend your whole life being drained, squeezed, beaten down. And when you finally stand up, the very people who raised you drag you into court. Because in their eyes, I wasn't a daughter. He was an investment. And they wanted returns. I thought I had finally freed myself. I'd moved out. I wasn't picking up their calls anymore. I'd stopped sending them money. For the first time I thought, this is it. I can finally live my life the way I want. But then they came back. Not with a call, not with a guilt trip, not with one of those endless rants about duty. This time they came dressed up in the form of a lawsuit. And that was my breaking point. I pressed the doorbell once, twice, over and over. Finally the door cracked open. My brother stood there, leaning against the frame like he owned the place. Arms crossed, smirk ready. "Why the hell are you always so loud?" He sneered. "You're so annoying." "Move," I said flatly. He raised an eyebrow. "Wow, no hello, no manners. You really are ungrateful, aren't you?" "Move," he dragged it out, pretending to think about it. "And here I thought you'd come crawling back with an apology, begging them to forgive you. Move." My voice snapped sharper. Hasty head, exaggerated like he was already bored. "Fine. Don't start crying when they tell you the truth." I pushed past him. His shoulder brushed mine. He muttered just loud enough. Pathetic. Yeah, that's him. Their perfect heir, their carbon copy. Sometimes I wonder how his wife even tolerates him. Probably the same way I did all those years by shutting up. The living room looked exactly the same. My mom perched on the couch like a queen, waiting for her servant. My dad leaned back in his chair, arms folded, jaw tight. My mother smirked. Well, look who finally showed up. The disgrace herself. "You swed me," I said. My voice came out flat, but my hands shook at my sides. My father shook his head. "You never learned, do you? Always so dramatic, always needing attention. You dragged me into court," he snapped. "Do you even realize how insane that is?" "Insane." My mother laughed, high-pitched and cold. "Insane is raising an ungrateful daughter who thinks she can cut ties with her family. You thought you could just walk away? Oh no, Isabella. This lawsuit is just the beginning." I froze. "Excuse me." "You heard me," she spat. "Next time you'll regret not giving us money anymore. We'll make sure of it." Clenched my fists. So that's it. It's not even about love, just money. "Of course it's about money," my father barked. "Do you think life is free? Do you think food on the table grows by itself? Everything you have is because of us." "What I have," I said, "I earned by working since I was 13. While he, I pointed at my brother, who was lounging against the doorway, still smirking, was out playing video games and wasting money on sneakers. My brother chuckled. "Still jealous, huh?" "Some things never change." "Jealous?" I shot back. "Of what?" "Of being their puppet. Of never lifting a finger while I bled myself dry to keep this house running." He shrugged. "Better than being the mistake." My chest tightened. "What did you just call me?" He grinned wider. "The mistake." "Come on, Isabella." "We've all heard it. You weren't supposed to be born. At least not as a girl. You've been ruining things since day one." My mom didn't even flinch. She just tilted her head, lips curling. "He's not wrong." Something in me cracked. "You think dragging me into court is going to fix your disappointment?" "It's not about disappointment," my father growled. "It's about what you owe us. You think you can just walk away after everything we gave you? You think you can take your money, your job, and pretend you're better Thanos? We made you. You broke me." I snapped. Silence fell for half a beat. Then my mom hissed. "Ungrateful. Always ungrateful." I stepped closer. Ungrateful. I cleaned this house until my hands blistered. I worked jobs when I was barely a teenager so you could pocket the money. I paid off debts I never made. And now you want $30,000 for raising me? My father's voice dropped low. "Watch your tone. Or what? You'll hit me again?" His chair scraped back. He stood face red. "Get out. Not until you explain why." "Get out." He shoved me. My shoulder slammed into the doorframe. I stumbled, but I stayed upright. "You really think this makes you strong?" "Behind me?" My brother chuckled. "Guess she still doesn't get it." I turned. He was smiling. Actually smiling. My father shoved me again. Out of my house. I stumbled onto the porch. My mother followed just long enough to spit near my feet. Ungrateful witch. "You've cursed us since the day you were born." She slammed the door. I stood there shaking. The envelope pressed against my chest like a shield. Headlights cut across the driveway. Jessie's car. She jumped out, heels clicking fast. Isabella, what happened? I shook my head, still stunned. Tell me, she urged. My throat tightened. They threw me out. Of course they did. She guided me to the car. Come on, let's go. I slid into the passenger seat. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. Why would they even do this now? Jessie asked once the door shut. Because it's all they've ever done, I said bitterly. Tort me, and now it's about money. Since I stopped sending them anything, they're suing to force me back. I yanked the papers out, shoved them at her. Look at this. $30,000 for child rearing costs. $30,000. She scanned the pages, frowning. I don't have that kind of money, Jessie. And even if I did, why should I pay them for abusing me? You shouldn't, she said firmly. I pressed my palms to my face. And if this spreads at work, if corporate hears I'm being sued by my own parents, they'll see me as unstable, a liability. My whole future could be destroyed. The words spilled out like poison. All I've worked for, gone, just like that. Jessie rested a hand on the folder. Isabella, look at me, I did. You don't have to let them win. Not this time. The fear saddened me like stone. Then it cracked and rage poured out. No, I whispered. I won't let them do this. Not again. So, what do you want to do? I want to fight. Not just defend myself. I want to hit back. Her eyes narrowed. Countersue. Yes. For every paycheck, every scar, every insult. How much? 50,000, I said without hesitation. For abuse, for financial exploitation, for emotional distress, for existing wrong in their eyes. Jessie nodded once. Okay, then, that's exactly what we'll do. And that's how it started. School records, photosoft bruises, witnesses, teachers, neighbors, old coworkers, emails, texts, every shred of cruelty stacked like ammunition. Jessie filed a police report, too. It may not go far after all these years, she warned. But at least it'll be on record. 2 months passed as everything built toward the court date. Then the night before the hearing, my phone buzzed. A message from my father. You will regret standing against your family. This case will destroy you before it destroys us. We'll drain every single penny out of you until you wish you had just kept giving us our share. I read it once, then again and again. I wasn't sure if luck would stand with me this time or leave my side the way it always had before. Finally, the day came. We were in the courtroom. I sat at the defendant's table. Jessie beside me, flipping through her notes like she was rearranging weapons. Across from us, my parents, my brother, all three together, heads held high, smug like they were about to win a prize. Of course, their lawyer stood first. Slick suit, fake warmth. Your Honor, this is a story of sacrifice. Loving parents who gave everything to their daughter only to be abandoned in return. I clenched my jaw. She humiliated them, he went on. Shameful behavior that ruined their reputation. Meanwhile, she earns a stable salary and refuses to support her family. While her brother struggles, she prospers. Where is the fairness? My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. She didn't need Oscar-worthy. The judge leaned forward. Counsel. Did the parents ever have any written agreement with the defendant that obligated her to give them money? The lawyer stuttered. Well, Your Honor, it was understood culturally. Answer the question. No, Your Honor, no formal agreement. Strike one. The lawyer tried to recover, shuffling his notes. Your Honor, the plaintiffs also seek compensation for the damages inflicted upon them. $15,000 for therapy expenses. The family has endured because of her behavior, and $30,000 for the resources they wasted on her upbringing. Food, clothing, education, all of it. Do you have receipts? Documentation of these therapy costs and proof that her actions were the cause of them. The lawyer hesitated. Well, Your Honor, they're testimony receipts, the judge repeated firmly. Invoices, records, anything at all? My parents shifted uncomfortably. My mother fiddled with the tissue in her hand. My father stared at the table. Silence. The judge leaned back in his chair. Counsel, if you bring financial claims into my courtroom, you will be expected to support them. Be more prudent in the future. For now, sit down. The lawyer swallowed, nodded stiffly, and lowered himself back into his seat. Then Jessie stood calm, clear, razor sharp. Your Honor, this isn't a case of children neglecting parents. This is a case of abuse. My client wasn't treated as a daughter. She was treated as labor, as income. My father scoffed loud enough for everyone to hear. Jessie opened the first folder. We have school records showing her brother was granted activities, allowances, freedom, while Isabella was denied everything. We have photos of scars and bruises from repeated beatings. We have witnesses, teachers, co-workers, neighbors, and she paused, looking directly at my brother. We have financial documents. He shifted in his seat. She held up a stack of papers. When Isabella was a teenager, her brother opened credit cards in her name, racked up debt. The parents forced her to pay it, blamed her for being irresponsible with money. The judge looked at them sharply. Is this true? Silence. My brother cleared his throat. That was a long time ago. Is it true? The judge pressed. He dropped his eyes. Yes. Strike two. The rest went fast. Jesse laid out emails and texts. My mother's words glowing on the screen. You owe us everything. My father's voice on voicemail. We regret the day you were born. The air got heavier with every page. Finally, Jessie closed her folder. Your Honor, this lawsuit isn't about justice. It's about control. And when control failed, they turned to punishment. The judge sat back quiet. Then he spoke. This case is dismissed immediately. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. The judge's voice cut through again. Furthermore, this court finds the plaintiff's actions to be an abuse of process and an attempted defamation. The plaintiffs will pay $50,000 in damages to the defendant. They will also cover all legal fees, and this court refers the evidence on financial fraud to the proper authorities. My brother's face drained white. My mother gasped. My father slammed his fist on the table. Game over. Outside, it wasn't over for them. You ungrateful? My mother hissed. Shameless. You've cursed us since the day you were born. I didn't stop walking. I didn't even look back because for the first time in my life, their voices didn't matter. For the first time in years, I feel calm. Not waiting for the next call. Not waiting for the next knock. Not waiting for them. Work didn't crumble the way I feared. If anything, it got better. My manager pulled me aside one day. You handled that with strength, Isabella. Not everyone could, it wasn't just him. Soon I noticed it in others too. They were respecting me, could feel it in the way they looked at me. And for the first time I respected myself too. I'm thriving emotionally, professionally. For once I don't feel like my life is just survival. Every month a payment arrives. Court-ordered damages, money flowing the other way for the first time. Not because I begged. Not because I was guilted. Because they were forced to pay for what they did. It isn't about the cash. It's about what it means. Proof. Meanwhile, they're crumbling. My parents had to sell their house. Judgment doesn't care about pride. Neighbors avoid them now. No more perfect family. Just shame. And my brother. The fraud the judge exposed didn't vanish. It went to prosecutors' identity theft. Credit card fraud. The investigation took a little while, but a few months later, the case was resolved, he was convicted, spared prison time, and sentenced to probation, community service, and restitution for the death he'd left in my name. So yes, I won. I fought back. I survived. But sometimes I still wonder, did I do the right thing? Or was I really a disgrace to my family? Was being born a girl my first sin? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.